Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to episode 3 in the Limitless Gold series. Today's episode is titled Vision Beyond the Wound. You see, I didn't only need to hold on to the vision with all of my heart beyond the age of 15. I stand here today doing what I do as a motivational speaker, as a mental health practitioner, because I owned vision beyond 15, and I owned vision beyond every other challenge, beyond every other plot twist, beyond every other limiting, sabotaging external opinion. I owned the vision. But the thing about vision and the ownership, why did I was going to ask you a question, but let me keep it here. Why did I hold on to it with all of my heart? Yes, I had something to prove to society. And what I needed to prove was I will not be stopped by this. But why is it that I never gave up on my vision? Why is it that some people hold on to their visions and protect their visions with all of their hearts and will push, never mind what is coming at them, every plot twist, every challenge? Why does that happen? Because it's not about the vision. It actually is something that fuels that vision. And it is purpose. My fulfilled visions had to serve a purpose greater than my ego and my personal success. But there's another component to it as well. It is recognizing the value that that fulfilled vision will serve while conceptualizing the vision. I knew that moving forward, despite the pain, despite the fear, was going to be a good move, because that recognized that what happened to me was never ever going to define me. And only 3 weeks after I had been raped, I made a decision to continue dreaming in the midst of the darkness, the void that was engulfing me, the numbness, the lack of physical strength, the nightmares. I made a decision that I will build my dreams and I will not let go of my dreams. And there had to be a reason for my living and not nearly dying, because I nearly died. There had to be that. Recognizing that did two things. The one was, it was and could have been, and in retrospect was, I guess, an organic survival tool that actually served me as much as suppression, repression, and deflection or defense mechanisms. These were my defense mechanisms to not only survive and to not only cope with immediacy, but they would actually become the building blocks for me to continue moving forward despite the pain and the fear, rather than waiting for the pain and the fear to totally disappear before I did. The other, which again I did not know, and was indeed a survival tool, but was so much more than that, saying to myself 3 weeks later, my wounds are not and cannot be my destiny, that I cannot become a victim of those circumstances. I cannot become a victim of my wounds. Because if I do, if my wounds will dictate my destiny, then I would actually be empowering lifelong violation. And I would actually be empowering lifelong victimhood. And so, two types of people: those who will hold on to their painful past and stories for dear life because they actually are able to benefit from victimhood. And so those are usually the ones whose narrative goes something like, you know what, I had big dreams, but I can no longer fulfill those big dreams because of this and that and that and that. Not saying that those reasons do not exist, but reasons can never become excuses. And then you get those who will do and pursue despite. And those are the visionaries. That yes, this has happened, but it does not define me. I will continue. This is a chapter, but it is not my story. You see, when I envisioned, even while going through this dark night, I was dreaming. I was dreaming of a future state while in a compromised present one, filled with trauma, filled with pain. But had I not done that, I would have fed victimhood. And whatever we feed grows. Every single one of us has the capacity to recalibrate our lives and to turn the page of where we currently find ourselves through the gift of choice. I refused to become a victim of circumstance. I refused to become a victim of my past, of my history, because I chose to become a master of my destiny despite. And man, those wounds were bleeding. They were gaping, but I knew that I did not and could not be enduring what I was called to endure for nothing. And so I found the something. And that something was finding the purpose inside the pain. And finding the purpose inside the pain prohibited me from becoming a victim of that pain. You see, a visionary and a victim cannot coexist. And the fact that our mind can only hold one conscious state at any one point in time actually suggests and implies that we have a choice. I thought that my success and my fulfilled visions and building on that was going to be my greatest revenge. And then I evolutionized because I realized that revenge, the framing of my success in relation to revenge, would have me psychologically connected to the experience for as long as I framed it that way. No violation is worthy of lifelong attention. No violator is worthy of lifelong attention. And so I then altered that framing, and it was, my success is not my revenge. My success is my reclamation. It is me returning to me, not in a diminished state, but in a wiser, bolder, and more healed state. The thing about purpose, right, is purpose gives us somewhere to go. And when we remain in victimhood, I said earlier, it creates inertia. We don't go anywhere. We just continue to hold on to our past, which is not going to take us anywhere except create stagnation in our lives and empower victimhood. Purpose gives us somewhere to go. You know why? Because it will drive us beyond a current reality, however painful. There's one question that I've now made my lifestyle, and it became a development area as well, because Debbie Ford says we don't have weaknesses, we only have overdeveloped strengths. Because I kept asking, so the question is, what's next? And in my life, I kept asking, what's next? The moment one vision was fulfilled. But I never ever consolidated the accumulative value of what I had already achieved. So I stand now more grounded in what I have achieved, knowing that it was not me, it was by grace, by mercy. However, accountability as well for hard work, for commitment, for recognizing that my wound had to serve a purpose, that my deepest, greatest pain, and there were many painful moments in my life, but I've now trained myself to say, what's it trying to teach me? What's it trying to reveal to me? How does it recalibrate or enrich where I am going and where my purpose is? Because if we don't allow pain to serve us, it will sabotage us. If we choose to focus only on the wound and to see nothing beyond that, we are compromising our God-given identity and the potential that has been placed on the inside of us. You see, healing is not something that we wait for. Healing is something that we partake of every single day as part of our becoming. Because the journey has no distance. Because the art of becoming is not finite. And so healing is a choice. Envisioning is a choice that in my journey contributed to my healing. It diminished the devastating effects that my woundedness could carry throughout my lifetime. And perhaps today you being invited to not deny that your wounds exist or existed, but you are being invited today to potentially reinterpret them. The thing about purpose and envisioning and recognizing that pain does carry meaning, it does carry purpose. The thing about that is that's how we get our pens back to actually write the rest of our stories, to write the next chapter. And again, I say there's nothing special about me. I simply however accidentally, stumbled across these principles as survival tools, which now are principles I've come across as a motivational speaker and a mental health practitioner. So go on. Today is inviting you to see your past through a different lens, to view it differently, to look hard and long enough to find the benefits. And so, until next time, loads of love and light. Bye then.